welcome back to the channel. Okay, so for the past few videos, of course, I've been talking about skincare and beauty in general, which is something that a topic that I enjoy talking about. But today I want to do something a little bit different. I have another interest aside from beauty and skincare. You know, I love the arts, and I also am a bit of a nerd. So I love to read, and I think even though this is 2020 and we have you know, things like Kindle and Audible, I just love the feeling of holding on to like a physical book and actually reading a physical book, flipping the page. I love going to a bookshop. I could stay in a bookshop for hours and hours, you know, trying to find a new book to read. Hence why I've got like a giant bookcase right there. So today I want to do, I just want to share with you a few books that I have read a few times over and over because I found that it's very profound. There's a lot of things in the storyline that have really gave me either an insight or pushed me to think or look at my life in a different light. So let's get to it. I'm gonna start with I've got the books all in front of me. I'm gonna start with this one, which is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I think a lot of people know about The Alchemist. It is one of, I think, like, it's international best-selling books for years and years and years in a row. It's been printed a few times and reprinted. This is the actual, pretty sure this is like a limited edition or something, because the cover is a little bit more special. You do have a bit of like a more like a map. So basically the story, I mean, it is, you group this under fiction because the author basically tells a story about a young shepherd who guided by this dream and stories by people that there is a treasure in there's worldly treasure in the pyramids in Egypt, where in a foreign land basically. So he traveled, and throughout his travel he met the love of his life, and he traveled this thing, and then basically it's a story of his journey to find this worldly treasure, only to find that, you know, the real treasure is actually buried underneath the place where he normally take his sheep to, which is back at home. I think it's a really brilliant metaphor for our lives, you know, like how as human we always wanting to search for the worldly treasures, the richness and what other people have, and sometimes we don't realize and we're not grateful for all the treasures that we already have in our life. So I think it's a really good book. I read it so many times because it makes me, you know, remember, you know, these are the true things that you need to value in your life, rather than continue to look up at what other people have. So there you go. So that's one. I'm just gonna throw it on the floor. The next book that I read, I picked this book up. So this is called 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. So Khaled Hosseini actually wrote The Kite Runner, which is, I think it's his more famous book. But the reason why I picked this up, because I was reading the synopsis at the back of what the story is going to be. I love that this is actually stories about women. It's a very different reality. It's a fiction, but it talks about the different experiences that these women are having in their day-to-day reality in Afghanistan before, during, and the aftermath of the Taliban takeover. It is obviously set in like a war situation. It definitely is a book that takes me out of my reality, but the reason why I really enjoy it, I couldn't even put it down, is because some of the stories, some of the experiences these women go through, it's not something that, you know, can you relate to that because it's not in your reality, but have a look at and have a think that some people out there actually do have these issues and challenges in their lives that are their everyday reality. So I think it's a really wonderful storytelling by the author. I bought the book after, and I tried to read The Kite Runner, but I've decided that out of all the books that he wrote, this is actually my favorite. I've recommended this book to so many women in my life who loves to read as well. So I think yeah, it's a really good book. If you need something, it is a little bit more serious, a little bit of course a little bit more graphic at times, because it is talking about like war times, but it's a really good book overall. And I think if you just want a little bit of a different perspective, and this is actually really a good book to read as well. Next one. The next one, I think this is I think a little bit predictable maybe, but it's Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. I know this book is so overhyped. Most definitely I think this is like the most hyped book in the like 2000 something. But you know, it's something that I truly can relate. You know, it is, I think this book came out during a similar time when I sort of just come out of one of the worst experience in my life as well. It's not that bad, but it's similar, you know, how she broke up with her fiance, boyfriend, whatnot. It's similar experience to that. So when I read her story, I mean, obviously I was at like university, so it's not like I have money to you know, do the whole Eat, Pray, Love, but you know, I think some of the things that she learned through her journey, her travels, it was very inspiring and very thought-provoking for me in terms of how I look at my life, how I look at, you know, my relationship with myself as well. So that's a really good book to read for anyone who's interested to you know, find a piece of themselves in you know, by learning from other people's experience. I like doing that. That's why I like, you know, having a chat to, you know, my girlfriends or my friends in general, because I think everyone has different, you know, experience, different reality, different stories. And I love that, you know, it gives you, if you stay curious, you will learn from other people's, you know, whether it's mistakes or life lessons, and you can most of the time apply to yours as well sometimes. So that's why I think I like this sort of genre book, and it is a self-help book, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with reading a self-help book if you can you know, if it benefits you and you needed it. So I think this is one of my favorite self-help book out there. Boom. Next one is, okay, this one is probably the most recent one that I read, which is the Murakami. It's called Norwegian Wood. If you're familiar with the Beatles song, it is inspired by the Beatles music. It's sort of like a coming of age type of story. It's a story about a guy and a girl who lives in Japan, who dealt with the same tragedy, and how they came out of this tragedy and differently, with different their reactions and the different reaction and the way they end up, you know, looking at their life, reflecting on their lives because of this tragedy, which is like a loss of a friend through suicide, is very different. So I found this book very fascinating. It's not a hard read. I wouldn't say that. I know it's like, you know, sort of like a little bit thicker, but it's not a hard read. I found that I couldn't put it down because how interested I was in, you know, what's gonna happen and what the way he thinks, the way she thinks, and their perspective on, you know, how do you move on from something. It's like an event that is so traumatizing in your life when, you know, when you're really young. How do you move on with that? So I think this is a really interesting take on sort of how would people deal with things sensitive such as like suicide and things like that. So yeah, it's a really good book, highly recommended. I do love Murakami. I think he is probably as an author, he's my favorite author, and I have so much of his book, but this is definitely my most favorite out of all the ones that I have read so far from him. Yeah. The next one, I don't have much to go, but it's very short and sweet, the video. So this one is the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. So this is actually a box set. It's supposed to be a set of 3, but I actually lent the original 4 Agreement book to a friend of mine, so I just have the box to show you. But out of the 3, the one that I want to talk to you about is actually the original one, which is the 4 Agreement itself. It's a very thin book. I found that when I read the book, I found that to be very profound, and I have been literally committed to, after reading this book, I commit myself to really trying to apply these 4 agreements in my life. And I honestly, it has changed my life tremendously in terms of how much easier and stress-free my life becomes after just really simply applying these 4 agreements. So the 4 agreements basically: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And I think time and time again, by just applying these 4 rules, you realize how much easier your life gets. And for the funny thing for me is because I've been able to really self-reflect on these, by staying to these 4 rules, I was able to see that a lot of other people's around me that are not aware of these simple rules either mistaken what I said, because I think as a person I'm quite black and white and quite honest with my words, so sometimes it can be taken the wrong way, and I realized that nothing, again, comes back to don't take anything personally, because nothing that I say, I can't be responsible for how the other person's gonna react to what I say. And I am not about to shy away from explaining myself and having a discussion, having a conversation. If you think that what I say offended you, let's have a conversation. And I think being able to do that, being able to really follow the 4 agreements, and being able to, has improved a lot of my relationship with like my best friends and people that really matters, includes my family as well. So this book is definitely a life-changing for me. So it's very easy read, very small, very short book, but it has such a huge impact in my life. So I thought I'd share with everybody if everyone's interested. So it's the 4 Agreement by Don Miguel Ruiz. So that's that. And just the last one, this is something that I want to throw out there, because apart from your skincare, beauty, I'm also very interested in the art world. I think I grew up with both parents. Both of my parents are architects, and that actually sparked a love for arts for me. And so one of the books that I picked up when so I went back to uni to study a master degree in arts management, and one of the books that was recommended by my teacher was this one. So it's 7 Days in the Art World by Sarah Thornton. I think if you are interested in the art world, if you're one of those people that always ask, how does a painting of dots can sell for millions and millions of dollars? This is actually a really good read, because it tells you, so Sarah Thornton is someone that that is actually working in the art world, and so she has an inside perspective into the different things that happens, whether it's if you work in a gallery, or whether how does the art publication works, or how does an art market work, like art fair, like Art Basel, Venice Biennale. How does that all work in terms of what it does, what value does it give to the artist and the artwork? So it's a very fascinating read, and I really enjoy, she has quite a satirical kind of like black and white, cutthroat humor that I definitely appreciate. So yeah, so this is, if you're interested in the art world, this is actually a really good book to read as well. And yeah, that's everything. Oh, hold on. I'm pretty sure that's everything. Whew. Yeah. Anyway, so I thought this would be something, hopefully this is something that inspire you to pick up a book and read. I definitely spend a lot of my time on my day off to just sort of sit here and read and these are the type of books that I picked up. So yeah, let me know if you have any favorite books that you just cannot put down and you read over and over and over. So if you have a book like that that you read all the time, share it with me, leave a comment down below. I want to know. Anyway, once again, Happy New Year everybody, welcome to 2020. There will be a lot more beauty content coming very soon, but I thought I want to start 2020 inspiring everybody to read, so then you know, bookshops around the world will be able to stay open, because I then, a nerd like me, have a place to just hang out. Thank you so much for watching once again. I hope I will see you guys real soon. Don't forget to comment down below with your favorite books of all time, and yeah, I will see you next time. Bye.